What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? BizzyDad here. You there? Checking out the latest deck build video. And I always start these off by saying hello to my newest subscribers this past week. Here they come in at the bottom of the screen. Thank you guys so much. Always room on board the bandwagon for Team Busy. So, like I say every week, thank you to the newest subscribers and a big thank you to all the subscribers that have been with me, some from day one, others along the way, but it's no problem. I love getting new subscribers, and we're just growing and growing, which is great to see. Let's get into this deck profile. This is the deck I call Peekaboo Shion, and it is a Wanderer format deck, which means we get to use Grimm Cluster cards in here, which makes it more of a fun deck. And Shion is a challenge for me to build because I don't really have a couple of the key cards that you see other people use her with. I only have one Hymnal's Memoria, and I only have one Hydromonica. So those are real problems, and I wanted to build the best deck I could without them, which makes it fun. But Grimm Cluster definitely has some cards that we can use to take advantage of the fact that we can look at our top card at any time. So we have cards that help us manipulate the deck really well to get the cards we need on top when we need them. And you'll see that as we go into it. So let's look at our ruler. It is the Songstress of Shangri-La with a judgment of 1 blue and 2 of others. So a cheap judgment for 3, which is pretty good. The ability is amazing and is really the main part of the deck and the winning condition. You may look at the top card of your main deck at any time. Now, that's just as good as it gets. You get a sneak peek into what you're drawing into next. You know what's on top. You know what's coming. And it definitely gives you an advantage as long as you have the correct support cards. So let's pay the 3 and flip her over. We'll do Judgment. And she becomes Coup d'etat Mastermind Shion, a 900 attack, 1000 defense traitor J ruler. And you keep the ability. You may look at the top card of your main deck at any time. So really great to see that you don't lose that by flipping her over. So you're always going to have that edge. When this card enters your field, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it is a Resonator with total cost 5 or less, put it into your field. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So obviously, being able to look at the top card at any time, you are going to wait till you have the Resonator you want on there to before flipping Shion over so you can reveal it. So, I mean, obviously that's the goal, to get the cards we want on top before flipping. Her God's Art is really strong. It's called Serenade of Rebellion, and it's only 2 blue. This card gains +5/+5 until end of turn. Then it deals damage equal to its attack to target J Resonator your opponent controls. And you can only play this once a game, but basically what it is you pay 2, Shion immediately pumps herself up to 14-15 and just hits one of your opponent's J Resonators for 1400 damage. It's not forced combat, so she doesn't take any attack back. She just hits somebody for 14, and it's J Resonators. So if your opponent has a J ruler out, you could do the God's Art and hit your opponent's J ruler for 1400. That kills the vast majority of J rulers. If you do this on your turn, Shion could still then attack for 1400 that turn. So a really strong God Art for a really low price. Shion has great abilities and just great power, but she's so simple. Just look at the top card whenever you want, and just for 2 blue, you pump her up on the God's Art and you just blast away. Real simple, but really strong and effective, and we'll see as we get into the support cards. So we'll get into Stone Base first. I forgot to mention this is a light and water deck, so we're going to be dealing with white and blue, and we'll kick it off with a Magic Stone of Light Vapors, 4 copies of it. This is our dual stone. It's going to give us access to both light and blue, so pretty straightforward. I also run, all the rest are just basic water stones. We are very blue heavy in this deck. White is there, more of support. The main color we are dealing with is blue. So we have 5 of them. And like I said, I do have the one Hymnal's Memoria that I throw in there, My recommendation is if you have 4 of these cards and you build a deck like this, run 4 of these cards. It's a special Magic Stone. If your J Ruler is not Shion, this card comes into your Magic Stone area rested. So I don't understand why you would play this card outside of using Shion. It produces blue, but when this card enters your Magic Stone area, name a card, reveal the top card of your Magic deck. If it's the named card, put it into your hand. So the fact that you can look at the top card at any time, you should never miss this. You have to name the card specifically, but it's basically a free draw. The card's going right into your hand for you to use that turn or down the road. So a really strong card. I'm just going to have to just buckle down and just buy the others, especially if I start using this more in Wanderer format tournaments. It's just really strong. Really makes no sense not to run as many of those as you can up to 4. So let's get into Resonators, and a really good card is the Trader of Shangri-La. It's one of my favorite blue cards, and I don't really see other people playing this, and I never understand why. 1 drop, 1 blue to play, a human Resonator, 100 attack and defense. But when you rest it, you draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your main deck. So this is going to help us filter through the deck. A strong advantage is always being able to see the card that's on top. So we can look at the top card at any time. If we want that in our hand, we rest the Trader and just draw it, put something we don't want at the bottom. What if the top card is something we don't want at all? Well, we use the Trader, rest him, draw the card, and ship it right to the bottom of the deck. So it's a really strong ability. We don't have this guy to fight at all. We can use him as a chump blocker if we need to save our butts. We're about to get hit for something big. We can always just block with him and sacrifice him. But using it hand in hand with the ability to look at our top card is great. 4 copies of Muse, Celestial of Music. This is one of our key cards here in the deck. It is a 2-drop, 1 blue and 1 other to play. 400 attack, 600 defense, Myth Resonator. And whenever this card enters your field, name a card type, then reveal the top card of your main deck. If it is the name type, put it into your hand. So when they're talking about card types, you're talking about Resonators, additions, spells, regalia. You don't have to name the specific card like on the Hymnal's Memoria. If you pulled the Hymnal's Memoria, you'd have to say, oh, I'm going to guess Muse. But if the Muse is on top of your deck, you would just have to guess Resonator or Spell or anything like that. So basically, again, another free draw. You know the top card. You're looking at it at any time, and you know you're going to play the Muse. So you can get that ready to go. And here is the MVP ability. If a Resonator you control would be dealt damage less than its defense, prevent it, which means as long as the Muse is on the field, all your Resonators have to be hit for at least their full defense, or they take no damage. In the Muse's case, the Muse has a 600 defense. So if anybody swings or attacks your Muse with any damage, it has to be at least 600 or she takes nothing. So Lightning Strike, go ahead. You can Lightning Strike her all you want. That's 500. Her defense is 600. She takes 0. You just wasted that spell. And this goes for all of your Resonators. So she really makes it tough to deal with your other Resonators for your opponent while she's on the field. And as you'll see, we're going to definitely want her on the field as long as possible for the rest of our Resonators. 4 copies of Humpty Dumpty. It's Humpty pronounced with an umpty. This is a 3-drop fairy tale Resonator, 2 blue and 1 other to play, 800 attack and defense, with a sneaky little activate ability that we're going to use to our advantage here. If you pay 1 blue and banish this card, you reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a Resonator, put it right into your field. Otherwise, put it into your graveyard. So a really risky play outside of knowing what's on top of your deck. Humpty Dumpty, you pay the blue and banish him. If you turn over a spell, it just goes right in your graveyard. Too bad, and you've lost Humpty Dumpty. But the fact that we can look at the top card with Shion, we know what's up there. And if it's a Resonator that we want to put into the field or take advantage of, we just pay the blue, get rid of Humpty Dumpty, and put that Resonator out there. The reason why this is such a strong play is because this is an activate ability, which means we could do it at any time. We could do it on our turn. We could do it on our opponent's turn. So it's really strong, and we use Humpty Dumpty to get our big guns in quicker than they normally would, and we also use him to escape some trouble. Speaking of the big guns, let's meet the big guns. How about 4 copies of Captain Hook, the Pirate? Another fairy tale resonator, 5 drops to play, 2 blue and 3 of other, 1,000 attack and defense. And this is one of the more feared cards out of Curse of the Frozen Casket. It's really strong. When this card enters your field, you choose one. Put up to 2 target special magic stones on top of their owner's magic stone deck in any order, or return up to 2 target resonators to their owner's hand. So Captain Hook comes in the field. If our opponent is running a lot of dual stones, we can immediately take 2 of them because they're special magic stones and put them right back onto their stone deck. They just lost 2 stones. In a game like this, where stone count is huge, setting them back 2 stones could cripple them. And especially with a card like Humpty Dumpty, we can get Captain Hook out onto the field on turn 4. And if we go first and our opponent calls their 4th stone and we banish Humpty Dumpty for Captain Hook, we just ship 2 of their stones back. We just chopped half of their stone base out. Now they're sitting there with just 2 stones. There's only so much you could do, and now you're staring at Captain Hook on the board, who's going to swing for 1,000 when it gets to his turn. That is trouble. And the ability to bring Captain Hook out on our opponent's turn with Humpty Dumpty means we could send resonators or stones back into their hands or on top of their decks on their turn, and then it comes right back to our turn where we can now just start attacking with Captain Hook. It's a really strong card, and even stronger when you sneak it in with Humpty Dumpty like that. 3 copies of Arthur Pendragon, King of the Round Table. So this is King Arthur, and just another huge card right here that's going to do a lot of damage and service for us. So it is another 5-drop, 2 light and 3 other to play, 1,200 attack and defense. It's a Knight of the Round Table, of course, it's the king. This card cannot be targeted by fire or darkness spells or abilities, which is great. You're in a Wanderer format, can't get hit with stoning to death, can't get hit with any of those thunders or anything like that. All those things just bounce off of him. Stats are good. And when you rest him, target resonator gains 0 attack plus 800 defense until end of turn. Resonators your opponent controls must attack this card if able. So here's a look into our main strategy here and what's going to help us basically clear our opponent's board and open ourselves up to swinging and potentially just winning the game. When we have King Arthur on the field, we wait for our opponent to draw. And at the end of their draw phase, we'd rest King Arthur. We'll pump himself up because his target resonator. So now he becomes 1,200 attack, 2,000 defense. And because he's rested, our opponent's resonators must attack him because now he's able to be attacked. Now, ideally, we want him out on the field with the Muse. And now here's where it's real trouble. Because our opponent's resonators must attack King Arthur, and Arthur is 1,200 attack, 2,000 defense. If our opponent's resonators are not hitting him for that full 2,000, no damage gets through. He's hitting them each for 1,200. He's most likely killing all of our opponent's resonators while all of the damage just bounces off him because nobody's swinging for 2,000. It is really a tough play. It's really hard to get around this. Your opponent would have to buff up their resonators enough. They would have to buff up one of their resonators enough to hit him for the full 2,000 in order to kill him, and that is not easy. For the most part, as long as Muse is on the field, Muse is the key card, because if Muse is on the field, all of your opponent's resonators are just going to be attacking him, getting nowhere, and dying. You can essentially just clear your opponent's board, who they now have to pass the turn back to you, and now you could swing at them with King Arthur or Captain Hook or whoever else is on the field. It's a really strong card, and we really want to get Arthur out there with the Muse, and it's just going to cause tremendous amounts of havoc. Another good thing with Shion is knowing that who our resonators are, the top cards. If we get into a spot where we get either Captain Hook or King Arthur on top of our deck, we can just judge for the 3. She flips over, and we get to reveal that top card, and boom, one of them comes right into the field for 3 instead of 5. So those are ways for us to get our big guns out into the field cheaper and really just start dictating our opponent's board and what their resonators have to do, make them force them to attack Arthur if possible. We'll go into our spells, and we have 3 copies of Charlotte's Water Transformation Magic. This is a really fun card out of the new set. It's a quick cast chant. You could do this at any time, and it has Remnant for 1 blue. Target Resonator loses all abilities and becomes a 400/400 bear until end of turn, and that is really a lot of fun. You wait for your opponent to give Resonators big buffs and big strengths and big abilities, and when they swing at you, you hit them with the Water Transformation Magic, turn them into a 4/4 bear, and either just take the 400 or block with somebody and just kill them off, which is a lot of fun. Another cool thing is it has Remnant. So a lot of times our opponent might forget that we played one of these, and even though it's not on our hand, we wait for the big build-up and the big swing, pay the blue, pull it out of the graveyard, and play it again, turn him into a 4/4 bear. This is also comes in a little handy when we have King Arthur and we don't have the Muse to fully protect him. We rest him, he becomes a 12/2. Our opponents have to attack. If he starts getting in trouble, we can always hit this, turn their Resonator into a 4/4 bear, and he might be able to survive another attack and kill off one of our opponent's big Resonators. So Water Transformation Magic does come in handy, and it's a fun card to play. Protection of Seraph is something I usually run when I have light decks, either in the main board or the main deck or the sideboard, because it's just a really great 1-drop Resonator edition. Added Resonator cannot be attacked or targeted by spells or opponents your opponent controls. This is really, for the Muse, this is the ideal combination we want to have out there. Because if we can get this on the Muse, Muse can't be targeted, Muse can't be attacked, and now all of our Resonators have to be hit for the full damage in order to get killed. This is really a lockdown card, and especially with Arthur on the field, it's really tough to break through. So a really good combination, and like I said, anytime you run light, you should always have that on hand. Here's a really fun card. I have 3 copies of Dreams of Wonderland, and this is from Grimm Cluster, a 1-drop instant spell. You can do this at any time. Reveal the top card of your main deck. If its total cost is odd, return target Resonator to its owner's hand. Otherwise, draw a card. So what a really cool card to play in a pinch. Again, with Shion, we can always look at the top card of our deck. So if Humpty Dumpty is on top of our deck, we know that because we have Shion. Again, let our opponent build up a Resonator, going to swing for big damage or really big trouble for us. And after they declare their attack, we play Dreams of Wonderland. We reveal Humpty Dumpty. It's odd, and that big Resonator can just go right back to our opponent's hand. It's great if they have any additions or anything on it because they would just go right into the graveyard. This card comes out of nowhere because it's instant, and you know if you could play it or not because you could see the top card of your deck. If it's odd, you could send it back. You can always use it in a desperation move to draw the card too. If it's even, you get to draw it into your hand. So really fun card, really good card to use. Another one that helps us take advantage of all this is Laying the Foundation. Here's 4 copies of it. It's 2-drop, 1 blue in 1 other play, another instant. So you can do this at any time. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your main deck in any order. So this is literally stacking the deck, getting the cards that you want on top for either Shion to judge or for Humpty Dumpty to bring in Captain Hook or King Arthur when it's your turn or your opponent's turn. What's nice is you could do this at any time, so you can do this on your opponent's turn too. If you have the open stones, play Laying the Foundation, put the cards you want on there, and then either banish Humpty Dumpty or play Dreams of Wonderland or anything else that you want to do to mess with your opponent. So again, we're using cards that help us manipulate that deck and get the cards that we want on top. Great, great card. It is 4 copies of Dream of Juliet, another spell chant instant, 1 light and 1 other to play, and you get to choose one. There are a bunch of choices. If you control Juliet the Hope and Romeo the Despair, you get to choose all 3 instead, but we don't run any of those. Here are our choices. You can destroy a target addition, which can come in handy, or you could draw a card, or you can remove target Resonator from the game, then put it into its owner's field. And that is what we're looking to do here. And we are looking to do it with Captain Hook. This is a crazy way to just spam Hook's effects and possibly just cripple our opponent into submission to where they just can't possibly win the game. So what we're looking to do is maybe with Humpty Dumpty or Shion's judgment ability, get Captain Hook onto the field, we either put 2 of their special stones back on their deck, or we send 2 Resonators back to their hand. If we have one light and one other, we then play Dream of Juliet at instant speed. It removes Captain Hook from the game and puts it right back into its owner's field. His enter effect hits again. So in one turn, you could potentially send 4 special Magic Stones back on our opponent's to the top of their Magic Stone deck. That is unbelievable to send 4 stones back, just put them 4 stones behind. How can you recover from that? I don't know. If you have more than 1 copy of this, you could do it again on the next turn, send 2 more stones back, or send 2 more Resonators back. It's just really a crippling card, and just such a perfect combination, especially with Captain Hook, or any cards that really have really strong enter effects, but we're dealing with white and blue here, and I wanted to combo it with Captain Hook, so just really great card. And because we run Captain Hook, we know how dangerous he is. So here is a good answer for him. It's 4 copies of Prison in the Lunar Lake. This is a spell chant standby. So you spend 2 to put this in your standby area face down, and you wait for the trigger. Let me fix this for you guys. The trigger is when your opponent plays an automatic ability of a Resonator they control that was put into a field from a non-field zone this turn while you control a water magic stone. Cancel the ability and destroy that Resonator. So this is definitely made for cards like Captain Hook. Captain Hook has automatic abilities that you play once he comes into the field. So if your opponent has a Captain Hook, for example, they play it out of your hand, they try to send 2 of your stones back. That triggers your Prison in Lunar Lake. You flip it over, you cancel that, and you kill their Captain Hook. So as dangerous as Captain Hook is, there are answers for it, and it's fitting that we have that answer right in our deck, especially in a Wanderer format where you have a really good enter abilities by some of the Cthulhus like Hastur and Yogg that just destroy things. You can cancel that and get them off the board, which is really strong. Our sideboard, always situational, and you can plug and play and remove these as needed. So I have 3 copies of Dreams of Flight. We don't really have flying defense or offense in here, so if we run into somebody who has flyers, this is how we can combat that a little bit. It is a quick cast chant. You can do it at any time, again with Remnant, just like the water transformation magic, so you can play it out of the grave. 1 light to play at any time, and you force 1. You roll a die. Target J Resonator gains +X, and flying until end of turn, where X is the result of the roll. So it can target Shion if we want, the J ruler. Basically a way to just pump up our Resonators a little bit, but make them fly. That is the most important thing. If somebody has a big flyer that we can't block, but we have Dreams of Flight, we can hit that and make one of our guys block them. Also, just for offense, if we need a big flying attack to win the game, like a King Arthur or a Captain Hook, we play the Dream of Flight. If our opponent can't block flying, we swing and can win the game that way. So really useful card, and Remnant can play it out of the grave. 3 copies of the Rat Catcher's Pipe. Here's a fun addition. 1 blue to play. It's a Resonator edition. An added Resonator gains the ability to rest and rest a target Resonator. So just a way for us to pin our opponent down. You put this on the Muse, for example. So now the Muse has this card. As long as the Muse has it, if the Muse rests, we get to rest one of our opponent's Resonators, which is great. Just pin them down so they can't attack, pin them down so they can't block, pin down one of their flyers, and then just send one of our flyers through if we have Dreams of Flight. Definitely a lot of combos you can do there. There's wording on it if you control the Pied Piper, but we don't. Also, if you pay blue, you can return this card to its owner's hand. That is really good. If we have this on one of our Resonators and they're about to be destroyed or killed, we have a blue stone. We pay the blue, take the Rat Catcher's Pipe right back into our hands. Our Resonator dies, but we don't lose the Rat Catcher's Pipe, which is cool. 3 copies of Exceed the Light, another instant spell. 2 drops, 1 light and 1 other to play. We can do this at any time. When a target Resonator you control is put into a graveyard this turn, search your main deck for a Resonator with the same total cost as that Resonator and put it into your field. Then shuffle your main deck. And we use these cards for Captain Hook and King Arthur because they both have a cost of 5. So basically what it says is if we have one of these on the field, let's say we have Captain Hook on the field and our opponent finds a way to kill him. He goes into the graveyard. We have the stones to play Exceed the Light. So Captain Hook dies, we play Exceed the Light, and now we can go into our deck and find another Resonator with the same cost, a total cost of 5. So which means we could put King Arthur right onto the field, or we could put another Captain Hook onto the field, grab his enter effect, send more of our opponent's stones or Resonators back to their hand. So this is really a gut punch card. They feel they built it up and they killed one of your big Resonators. You know, they're feeling good. You play Exceed the Light, and nope, he's coming right back out, and he's sending more of your stones, or he's forcing you to attack him more. Definitely not a good card for your opponent to see. Definitely a fun card to play, though. 3 copies of Zero's Magic Light, another quick cast chance. You can do this at any time. I love instant spells because I'm a defensive player, and being able to do these things at any time is great. So 2 drops, 2 light to play. If your J ruler is 0, you only have to pay 1. I wish I had a 0. Remove target attacking or blocking Resonator from the game. Really simple. Our opponent's got a big guy. He's swinging at us. We got Zero's Magic Light, and nope, we could play it, and he's out of the game. If our opponent's trying to block, nope, we can just play this, remove the blocker, and the damage gets through. This also comes in handy against our opponents that have Resonators with big graveyard effects, like the Valentina, the shifted card that lets our opponent take over a Resonator. We play this, and it goes out of the game, not the graveyard, so they don't get that graveyard effect. Speaking of Valentina, she's the last one in the deck. Valentina, the Puppet Monarch. It's a 4-drop Resonator, 2 blue and 2 other to play. 12 Apostle Human, 800, but this is great because when this card enters your field, gain control of target Resonator your opponent controls as long as this card is in a field. And this is really most effective with Humpty Dumpty. If we have the stone, our opponent is attacking or setting up something big. We have Valentina on top of our deck, pay the blue, excuse me, banish Humpty Dumpty, reveal Valentina, throw her onto the field, steal that Resonator from our opponent, and now that Resonator is ours as long as Valentina is still alive. Also comes in handy with Shion. If Valentina is on top of our deck, we can do Judgment with her, reveal it, put her into the field, steal our opponent's Resonator, and just take it. Like I said, it's a good control card. And a lot of these cards stop our opponents in their tracks, especially when they have big plans. So guys, that is it, the deck profile, the Peekaboo Shion, the Songstress of Shangri-La. Let me know what you think with a comment below. Like, share, subscribe. Hopefully you guys like this one. I like our discussions. This is a fun one to play, and hopefully you agree. So that is it for today, and as always, thanks for a few minutes. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.